I tried and my computer's just not going to work tonight. I'm so frustrated. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my computer and I'm looking at Facebook, and I want to say I am so sorry that I'm late. I'm Dr. Tori J. Evans-Barton. I'm the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. My computer is still giving me rainbow wheels, so I was like, I can't keep waiting for this to load up before I do Healing Tuesday. I'm a little discouraged by that because I wanted to do both. I'm ambitious. Maybe that's that overachiever thing coming out in me. Hey, Becca. It's good to have you back. Tonight we are going to talk about, and we're going to have our last session, and then some people would say episode, on breaking the curse of fatherlessness. And this one is called You Are the Curse Breaker. How about that? You, Becca, Nydia, Varric, Tori, and whoever else is on here because I can't see you. You are the curse breaker. I'm gonna mute this a little bit. I'm gonna mute my computer and see if it'll at least let me get on Facebook where I can see your comments a little bit better. Hola, Nydia. You are the curse breaker, girlfriend. And that is what I have learned in my time of preparation for this, is you are the curse breaker. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna see if this allows me to go live on my computer watch. Let's see what happens. Probably can't go live from two different places. But tonight, as I told you guys, hey Shay, as I told you guys, it ain't working. I don't know what that is. It's just, my computer's just, this MacBook Pro, not that it's old, I've just worked it to, I won't call it death. It is time to retire it, I guess. It just does not want to. So once again, I'm gonna ask y'all, pray for Dr. Tori to get a new MacBook Pro. I just need a new MacBook Pro. And so as I was, dealing with this month and the series that we were gonna deal with, hey Steve, it's good to have you back. Last week I captivated you, so I'm excited that you're back. I decided that I would delve into this fatherless thing from a biblical perspective. And I know some people were like, no. And I was like, that's not going to stop me, because for me, yes, I need a new one. For me, everything is spiritual and natural. And I don't disregard that even in other aspects of my life. So I wasn't going to disregard it when it came to this part of the journey. As we delve into this particular session, we're going to talk about Joseph. I don't know if many of you guys know the story of Joseph. It starts off in Genesis 37, and I believe it goes to 52. I believe it goes to 52. Yeah, it goes to 50. Well, he dies in 50. So, but yeah, I'm sorry, Genesis 50. Genesis does not go to 52. So you're going from chapter 37 to verse 50. This is the story of Joseph and aspects of his life and his journey. And one of the things that I want you to understand why I'm using biblical stories, and I won't even call them stories. They're allegories. They're true accounts of who I believe were real people in this earth at a different period in time. I want you to understand that Joseph's life was what it was, not because of his own doing. And that happens for many of you. And that happens for many of us. We don't realize that this stuff started way before us. So as I get into Joseph, I want to go to Genesis 37. And as I look at Joseph, I'm going to start at I'm going to start at chapter 35. And I'm going to look at verses 23 to 26. And so it says, now the sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah were Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel were Joseph and Benjamin. And then the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's maidservants, were Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, which were Leah's maidservants, were Gad and Asher. So you have what you are hearing me read. There's two women who have one man. They have also introduced their maidservants into this tragedy. I don't want to go all the way back and start reading scriptures from way back, but what I need you to understand is when you are looking at Jacob, Leah, and Rachel, these three people, the parents of these 12 boys, what you find out when you go back into this story is Jacob, number one, was a trickster in his own right. He had a lot of issues in his own home growing up. I'll get into that in a moment, but I want to kind of backtrack from the place where he is now he's seen Rachel, he's attracted to Rachel, he wants to marry Rachel. He goes to Rachel's father, asks if he can marry his daughter. The father says, yes, but you got to work 7 years for her. 7 years in, he's ready to marry his girl. He goes into the tent, and it's Leah. It's the unattractive sister. The father tricked him and said, well, how do you think I'm going to, number one, she's older and she's less attractive. Most of our problems are spiritual. Absolutely, Steve. And so, number one, she's older, and number two, she's unattractive. Dang, daddy. So he pimps her off basically on Jacob in a tricky way. But Jacob really wants Rachel. So he works another 7 years for Rachel, although at that point he's married to Leah. So him and Leah are already starting a family. He gets Rachel. Rachel comes into the scene, and these women are fighting over this man. They're competing on who's having the most time with him, having the most babies with him. And on top of that, the woman that he loved, the one that he went for in the first place, she's barren. So now she starts sending in her maidservants, because if she can't have kids, she at least wants them to be associated with her. So she sends in her maidservants in order to have children by the man that she loves and who loves her. Eventually, she has her own children, which happens to be Jacob and, hey, Linda, which happens to be Joseph and Benjamin. And in the midst of all of that, what I got to tell you, none of your stuff started with you. None of it. You are dealing with cycles, curses, spirits, pathologies that come before you that had nothing to do with you. I'm gonna prove it to you. So Jacob then has 12 sons. He has 8 with Leah, the woman wasn't really his first choice, wasn't his choice at all. How does that feel? And you can tell from reading it, there's an issue there. There's some problems there. Then he has Rachel, who he adores. She's beautiful, but she's barren. It's almost like, God, really? Like this feels real tricky. Like, really? And now you have maidservants introduced into the scenario to create children, allowing these women to compete with each other. So you have 8 with Leah and 4 with Rachel. I know you may hear my husband. He is not feeling well, so he has taken some NyQuil. So we just gonna let Varg ride it out tonight, okay? So hopefully you don't hear him, but if you do, just know he's not feeling well. Love how you use the word of God as your favorite, as your foundation. Absolutely, I'm gonna keep doing that. Yeah, Becca, it's a mess. It looks like some of our situations, right? It looks like a Maury show. Looks like a Jerry Springer show to me. And I know, I told you guys when I first started this, I was like, the Bible has nothing on Ratchet TV. Nothing. Y'all can act like throwing drinks on each other and competing for men is a new thing amongst women. It is not. This is biblical. And we didn't just compete with men by how we look. We were competing with men in this particular case on how many kids we could have. And, oh, I can't have no more kids. So now I'm going to grab this girl who's my servant and I'll make her have kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is completely out of control. She's like, Jerry, exactly. This is Jerry Springer action. So when I began to look at this, I'm looking at this from, as Steve is saying, from this biblical perspective. And you have Jacob, who was a trickster to begin with. He's tricked into marrying Leah, who now he has to take 2 women on. I'm not even going to get into polygamy because I know some people will try to go there. Don't go there on the comments. That was not God's design. That was not. You can go before this. It was not his design. And if you want to go there, the truth of the matter is if you're going to do it, that's biblical because God says, okay, I'm going to go here. If you want to marry multiple women and you want to be hard-headed and stiff-necked, then you have to love them 100% equally. You have to treat them the same. You have to raise the children the same. And how many of you know that doesn't work? Because I'm about to show you how it doesn't work in this account. So then you get to a place where all the boys are being raised up. Joseph is around 17 years old. His father gives him this coat of many colors. You can tell Joseph is the favorite. How many of you have a sibling who it seems like your father or your mother tends to favor them? And it causes sibling rivalry in a way that is not good. But it doesn't cause it in this way. So as they are out and about, walking around, doing their thing, there comes a point where Joseph is sharing that he had a dream. And this dream shows that his family is going to bow down to him. I've heard it ministered in different ways. Oh, he was opening his mouth. He was telling his business. He was talking too much, all of that. But I got to tell you, why shouldn't I be able to tell my family my dreams? I'm not saying that he should have said, y'all going to bow down to me. I don't know how you should have said that. But it's very interesting how we're looking at Joseph from a negative connotation when I think he was an innocent bystander. I think he was just a part of the ploy and the plot and the plan of what the enemy meant for harm, but God eventually turns it around for the good. Becca said, my sister is the favorite. Steve said, wow, who would willingly name their child Trickster? That's cold. Yeah, like really, Jacob the Trickster? Like you're naming your child that. And so as we're looking at this, Jacob is now dealing with 12 boys that he's dealing with. And as he's dealing with them, one rises to the top and becomes his favorite. More than likely because it was by the woman that he loved so dear, and she was struggling having kids and all this other stuff. So that became his favorite. Blending families is a mess. And this is what this is. This is a blended family. You have two women who are dealing with one man. Unfortunately, they're married to him at the same time, but I want you to look at the blended family factor in this as we're talking about it, because blended families are very tricky to do. They're very difficult to do. You can say you have a great blended family, but that thing is not as easy as you think it is. And one day you're up, the next day you're down. 1 minute you think you don't have any more baby mama drama, and then you do, or you're like, oh, they're 18 now and we're good, and then it's still going on. I'm telling you, it's always a complicated thing to have a blended family, and this is proof of that. When you are watching Joseph share a dream, and then his brothers become jealous within their heart, they then plot to kill their brother as they're out on, taking care of the sheep and tending to the farm and all of that. They plot to kill their brother. And one brother, I think it was Reuben, he said, no, let's not kill him. Let's sell him into slavery, because there was this caravan that comes by, and they sell their brother Joseph into slavery. So Joseph then goes through this whole part of being sold into slavery because his brothers are jealous. I want to go back before even Jacob finding Leah and Rachel. Blended family, great point. Thanks, Steve. Before he even found them, Jacob's father, Isaac, favored his oldest brother. So much so that Jacob's name became a reality when he tricked his father, who was on his deathbed and of old age, and on his deathbed, he tricked his father into thinking that he was his brother. And his mother helped him do it by putting hair on him and trying to change his voice. But the father heard his voice and thought, well, you sound like Jacob. But he tricked him into getting his birthright. And so Eshua was the oldest brother, or Esau, I'm sorry. Esau was the oldest brother. Yes, Esau. Esau was the oldest brother, and he was supposed to get the birthright. Jacob tricked his father into getting the birthright. What I want you to also see is Jacob brought his father wound from Isaac into his scenario, and he began to favor Joseph. Got to keep all my names straight. When you think, I hated how my father treated me, I hated how my mother treated me, but somehow you then repeat that same cycle and do that same thing. Jacob did that. He brought his father wound into his own family. And I know he didn't like it. You read about how much he doesn't like it. It's so much so he tricks his father. Shay says, maybe I shouldn't have shared this one on to the page. Don't need someone getting the wrong idea to sell or kill someone. No. No, we're not going to. Right. We always got to give these clauses because some of us are so wounded. We start to, this ain't right up here. So Shay, no, we're not going to sell it or try to hurt nobody in the process. She said, I try so hard to be a part of the solution, not the problem. Kids need their dad. Absolutely. And that's what we work to do. And sometimes we find ourselves falling into a pathology, a curse that does not start with us. It did not start with us at all. Jacob brought the curse of the father wound into his situation. How many of us know that you can have a father wound and be fatherless even with your father in the home? I know that. That is a part of having a disengaged father. Jacob had a disengaged father in Isaac. And then as you have 12 sons who are growing up, you tend to favor this one. So it's created jealousy in the other ones. And you got to pay attention to the fact that Jacob perpetrated the father wound that he hated so much in his own family. How many of you have done the same thing? How many of you have perpetrated the same thing that you hated, the same cycle that you detested growing up? You then moved on into your own family and did it to them. Favored a child, didn't give them as much attention. Fathers, I'm speaking to you specifically. Didn't give them as much of attention as you know they needed. You became solely the provider, and so you didn't provide your children with the emotional support. You didn't give them the playtime that they needed for the development. Many of you know that that's a part of a child's development when a father rough plays with them? And mom, you got to stop stopping dads from doing that, because that's a part of your children's development, emotionally, psychologically. It's about risk taking. It's all these things that dads provide when they roughhouse with their children. I'm sorry, but is he snoring? Oh man, I hope yes, he is. That's why I gave that disclaimer earlier. He's right here. He didn't want to go in the other room. You guys know I normally be like, get out. But he is not feeling well. So we're gonna let him be right now, because this is my spot. And I wasn't gonna move from my spot, and he didn't want to move from his. So, and he took some NyQuil. So just pray for him. Just pray for him as you're listening to him snore a little bit. Let me go down here. Sadly, being that way is the minority compared to the rest, who are the tricksters who love to remove or deny. Well, yeah, that's part of that psychological warfare. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were all liars. That's 3 generations of liars Joseph broke. Uh-oh. Why you jumping? Steve, stop jumping into I'm talking. That's why I said, you are the curse breaker. It's the father breaking the fatherless curse. You are the curse breaker. When you look at all of this stuff, his brothers didn't kill him. They decided to sell him into slavery. You watch Joseph go through this journey of being in slavery. He gets into slavery and he rises to the top in the Pharaoh's house. In the house that he is a slave, he rises to the top and he becomes like the head person. Well, then he has a situation. He has a situation where the Potiphar's wife, the Pharaoh's wife, comes on to him. And when he turns away from her, I got you excited. When he turns away from her and tells her no, she then lies on him. Did we not pray about false accusations yesterday? Yes, we did. False allegations. She caused him to go to prison. He had to go to jail because she lied on him. Because when he ran, he left his little jacket thing or whatever it was he was in. And so she had it and she was able to say, he tried to rape me. So he ends up in prison because he is falsely accused of trying to rape the Pharaoh's wife. While he's in prison, he rises to the top. And then he gets to a situation where he's in there with 2 individuals who have connection to the new Pharaoh. And he prophesies to them about their dreams and interprets their dreams. And they're like, man, I won't forget you when I get out of here. How many of y'all know that they forgot about him? So it gets to a point where he's still in jail. I want to know something. And I'm going to ask you guys to participate, although y'all already know it. And oh, I forget this. He's not on, so I forget. Share, share, share. Come on in here and share. Share it with your friends. Tell them what's going on. Tell them they need to be in this room. This is what I want to know before I say that. What I want to know is how many of you have found yourself in a position where you've hit rock bottom, risen to the top, something happens and takes you right back down to rock bottom. Put a 1 in the box if that's happened to you. You've hit rock bottom, you rise to the top, and then you're taken right back to rock bottom. And you've done it multiple times. It's not just one time. Put 1 in the box or in the comment section if that's you. Put a 2 if that's never happened to you. Put a 1 in the box if that's you. Put a 2 in the comment box if that's never happened to you. That you have gone through this journey of excelling and overachieving, and then you fall right back down. You do it again, you rise to the top and you fall right back down. I want to know how many people that has experienced that. All right, I don't see no comments down here. What's going on? Y'all was chatting up a storm a minute ago. For some dads, we are, with half of the children, they accidentally favor those not in the home like the others, especially in blended families. Shay, that's a message right there. I hope you keep doing this. So good. Thanks, Zach. I forgot a few more. She put 1 in there. Like a roller coaster that I didn't want to ride. Zach said 1. Yeah. Do you guys know spiritually that is called failure on the brink of breakthrough? Google it. It comes with a curse. Failure on the brink of breakthrough is what that's called. And when it happens to you on a cycle, you then have to break the curse. You have to break the curse. Breaking the curse isn't like, sometimes you see certain things. You've seen The Exorcist and her head spin around, she spit pea soup and he put the cross. I don't know. I don't know if that's how it works. Breaking the curse is a process. And Joseph goes through a process of breaking this curse. I know we want to look at his situation and say, good God, how much more can he take? So eventually, the current Pharaoh has a dream, and he needs this dream interpreted. And one of the men simply said, who he interpreted the dream when he was in prison, oh yeah, I know somebody. Way late. He done spent several more years in prison. Like, really? You just gonna mention his name? So finally comes up. She said it should come with wine and Advil. Seems like I have lived that most of my life. Newbie here. Hey, Kimberly, nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us. So as we're dealing with failure on the brink of breakthrough, once again, Google it. Failure on the brink of breakthrough. As we're dealing with this with Joseph, he gets to interpret the Pharaoh's dream, and the Pharaoh then says, okay, famine is coming into the land. I need a manager. I need someone who watches over the land, helps us deal with the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine. And so you have Joseph in a position of authority. He's finally at the top. And then when the 7 years as he's dealing with the plenty, he does very well. He manages all the food. He gets it stocked up, stored up, rations it out to the people in the land, so on and so forth. There comes a point when the famine causes his father, who thinks he's dead. I forgot to jump to that. Who thinks he's dead. His father and his family move close to Egypt because they know that's where the resources are. And that just so happens to be where Joseph is. Lo and behold. So while Joseph is in that land, dealing with everything, as the famine hits, his father and his brothers have to go into Egypt. Father's too old, too ill, I think it is. So he doesn't go, he sends the brothers. Well, Joseph plays a little trick on them, causes a whole bunch of stuff I don't want to get into because we won't have all night. This is a long story and it could go on forever. And I want to make some points at the end. Although Steve kind of, he jumped the gun on it, but I like that. I like the fact that you know where I'm going. So Joseph gets to a point where he reveals himself to his brother. It's a moment. He sends him back and forth. He plays a trick on him. He holds one brother hostage in the process because he says he stole something. But although Joseph implanted it on them, whole issue. We get to this place where Joseph reveals himself to his brothers. And this is the place where his brothers are humbled. His brothers actually find themselves bowing down to him. They go get his father. His father sees that his son is alive. We deal with all this. But Joseph is in a position where he's got authority. And here it is, your brothers who put you in slavery, your brothers who were jealous of you, your brothers who squashed your dream, at least it appears as though they did. And then you find yourself in this place of authority. What would you do? Would you take them as slaves, or would you forgive them? Joseph forgave them. Joseph looked at it in a different way, made sure that his family had what they needed, put them up as in all of his authority. His family did bow down to him, and things progressed, and they had a reunite in their family, which is kind of crazy. I want you to know something that I wrote down here. God's use of physical hardship / famine, hard times, desperate times, sickness in your family, whatever that is. He used it in Joseph's situation to reunite this family. And he may be doing that sometimes in some of your families. He's using hardships. And I know some of you are on here, you're referring to your children who you're alienated from. That could be the case. But on Tuesday nights, I tend to talk about the adult journey of fatherlessness, the adult journey of healing and father wound. And some of us are alienated from our children because we still have a father wound we haven't healed. We still have some forgiveness that we need to walk through. And I know that sounds very harsh because you're like, well, what does that have to do with me not seeing my kids? It has everything to do with you not seeing your kids. It's how I started this thing out. It has to do with there's forgiveness that needs to be had. There's a journey that in a process that you have to go through in order to break the curse of alienation on your life. Because I will put money on the fact that many of you who are alienated from your children now were alienated as children, and you still have a hurt and a pain towards your father. And I know there are lots of women on here who are upholding and standing in the gap for their husband, their boyfriend, their fiance, their brothers, their cousins, their uncles, their friends. And that's a part of the friend's journey, the male journey that they don't necessarily know, they don't tap into. Maybe you're dealing with this because this was the same thing that your dad went through. We have to be able to acknowledge that at times. And this is the part that kind of makes the rubber meet the road when it comes to Joseph. Joseph's father came into this situation with a lot of stuff, and he perpetuated all of those curses onto the children. The sins of the father visited those children, and not only did it visit them, but several of them picked them up, grabbed them, and embraced them as their own. And as they did that, they sent and put their brother in slavery and sold him and created all this stuff out of jealousy. Same thing that that Jacob was dealing with concerning his father Isaac. He was dealing with this wound. And when you look back on all of it, you're like, oh my God, it's a pattern, it's a cycle, and it kept going. But the beautiful part about Joseph is I'm going to read this in a minute, Zach, because I saw something and I think it's important. Joseph was the curse breaker. Joseph, as Steve jumped to, Joseph was able to break the curse. And when you are a curse breaker, hear me out. You're going to go through the failure on the brink of breakthrough because the enemy is trying to constantly keep you in the cycle that you're trying to break free from, and not only break free from for yourself, but for your family, for your children, and for the ones to come behind you. Because how many of you know that pathology keeps going and going and going? Joseph was the one who endured the hardships in order to break the curse. Some of you are dealing with hardships, challenges, alienation, famine, poverty, all these different issues, being jailed unjustly for false allegations. You're breaking the curse and you didn't even know it. Because it doesn't feel that way. What it feels like is I'm being attacked. I'm the one under assault. And we have to step out of our flesh for a moment, step out of our own way of thinking, and think about who came before us and who's coming after us. I believe a lot of times we get very selfish in our journey, and I'm guilty of it myself. I'm super selfish because I'm like, why I gotta suffer through all of this? Well, you're suffering through all of it because you're walking out the sins of the fathers. You're walking out the sins of omission and commission that your family got involved in that are trying to pull you and lure you into. Poverty is a curse and poverty is a sin, right? We don't want to live in poverty. Somehow poverty seems to try to attach itself to you, right? Money is funny sometimes. You're like, why my money funny? I work hard. I went to school. I did all, why my money funny? Failure on the brink of breakthrough. How am I going to jail for false allegations? I didn't do anything. Go back to my prayer from yesterday. You'll hear exactly what God wants you to hear about that. How is it that my brothers and my sisters are jealous of me? I didn't bring this on myself. It's my father's fault. I'm telling you. I want to go back to read something that Zach said. He said, I was alienated from my dad, and my parents both came from high conflict divorce in their parents. Generational. Come on. Healing starts where it is first started, not where someone finally sees that there is a cycle. You better say that, Shay. Zach said, I'm determined to break that curse. I'm determined to break that curse, even though I'm alienated from my daughters. Zach, you break the curse. And this alienation, I decree and declare that it is just temporary. It is just part of your suffering that you have to go through in this season to break the curse, not off of your life, but to ensure that your daughters never repeat that cycle and that spirit never visits them. Shay says, my husband is in the same situation. Just never give in or give up. You don't do it. You don't do it. He said, that's good. Sins of the fathers revealed generations later. It always is. It always is. And we have to be like Jacob. We have to be willing to endure hardship as a good soldier. There's a war going on, and you just so happen to be the soldier on the front line, and you didn't even know you were enlisted. You didn't even know. So I'm here to tell you tonight, look at this differently. See it from a different lens. Think about it as breaking the cycle of the people before you, so that the people who come after you don't have to endure what you've endured. That's the important part. I also want to say the pressures of life are not always to harm you, but maybe to draw you to the place you were called to be. That's the thing that I wrote down that I wanted to share with you and stress to you, that the pressures of life happen and we're always like, why is this happening to me? And I didn't deserve this. I am guilty. I am a table for pity party right here, number one. That is me. You have to recognize that callings, purposes, destinies, and all of that is not determined by how perfect you are. As I'm reading this to you, you recognize that God created a nation out of a very dysfunctional, tumultuous, and troubled family. You have the same ability, and God will use you to do the very same thing in your life, but you have to deal with it. Absolutely, Shay. Kind of like a diamond is only a diamond after serious pressure. And not only after serious pressure. I've studied this before. That's part of my chemistry background. I always want to know stuff. I always am intrigued. Not only pressure, it's like it's ripped and torn and shaken, and all these different things are taking place when it's formed in the depths, the deepest part of the earth, and it's thrust up. It's formed in hell. Diamond is created in hell, and we won't. We're like, oh, if you could just give me a diamond. You know what a diamond has to go through to get here? It starts in hell, and it has to shift as the earth is shifting and earthquakes are happening and tremors and the earth is moving. It starts to move up, and then it's moving up. And then once it gets here, you got to dust it off, and then it doesn't look like a diamond until it's cut. And it's got to be cut with a laser, like sharp. This laser is crazy how it's cut. And it cuts so that you can get the optimum light out of it. Because each diamond is different. And the jeweler understands when he's looking at it, he's starting to cut on it. What cut should this diamond be? Should it be a solitaire? Should it be an emerald? Should it be this or that? It's dealing with the fact, it looks at the diamond and says, how should this diamond be cut to get the most light, the optimum light out of it? That's what God's trying, that's what he's doing in you. The earth is almost destructive along with the pressure to become a diamond. Absolutely. You have to deal with the challenges and the struggles in order to become light. We're formed in darkness. Grandpa Jacob was 90 years old when Joseph was born. Come on. He was spoiled. He spoiled Joseph like a grandson. I love it. And he spoiled Joseph because he liked his mama the most. That was the woman he loved. Leah was technically Leah was a side piece. Leah was like, oh, I got to take her because I already slept with her. And that's the custom. He had to take her. And he didn't want her. And you could tell that he didn't really want her. And the sons understood that he didn't really want her. And the sons also realized that he really loved Joseph's mother, Rachel, more than he loved their mother. That's a blended family for you right there. The woman he divorced, but now the woman he's married to. Joseph didn't divorce, or Jacob didn't divorce her, but it's that blended family thing. It's how that thing moves that makes you go, oh, this isn't good. You read the story and you go, this is not going to turn out well for anybody. But it does. Because once again, as I said earlier, this didn't start with Joseph. It actually started with Isaac and Jacob, and it started before that, as Steve was pointing out. But I'm just looking at the generations that were right there, from Isaac, Jacob, to Joseph. You have 3 generations right there. In that situation, Joseph decides to break the curse. Oh yeah, that's basically what she was. And they were fighting over, they had these mandrakes. I guess it was like Viagra. Yeah, this is in the Bible, y'all. It's called mandrakes. Read it. I think, and I needed to say this because my best friend and I were talking about this last night. Some people have come on here and been like, I don't want no religion. I don't want that. I have been blessed in my life. And I recognize that. And I have to acknowledge that a little bit more. That I didn't go to churches that dictated things on me and you got to do it this. You know, I didn't grow up like that. I grew up in a very spirit-filled church that gave you the freedom to learn God and allow it to allow you to read the word for yourself, right? And they kind of press that upon you. And then when I was in college, I went to a church who the pastor and the bishop would stand in the pulpit and say, don't take my word for this. You better read it yourself. And how many times have you heard that? Like, that's not very often. Maybe more now, but back then, you know, we're talking about 20 years ago. They wanted you to take their word for it, and you pretty much don't read your own Bible, and you kind of let it, it's something that get dusty, and you have to dust it off to go to church on Sunday. But now we don't even do that. We just take our phones because this is a lot to carry around. It's simply, it's difficult, right? I got distracted by what I saw. It's difficult to be in a position where someone's reading something to you and telling you what it says from their own interpretation. That's why I'm reading this as I'm reading it to you, because you should want to go pick this book up from how I'm reading it to you. You should want to go look at this. It says, even if you are not religious, you can find that the meaning that fits the situation. And that's exactly why I'm doing this, Shay. This should make you want to read, like, what the heck is she talking? That's in the Bible? Yes. Don't get caught up in, oh, King James was this and that. And I can give you the breakdown of all of that. We can midrash. We can do apologetics. See, I'm a minister. That is something I am. I'm licensed and ordained. But I'm not here to do that. I'm here to talk to you. And Nydia said, it makes me want to pick it up. I'm here to talk to you so that you recognize that there are situations and stories that you can pick up and see the benefit. You can pick up and see how this looks like your life from this point and which direction you want to go in. That's how I view this book. I view this book as a place where I can go and look and see what I want and what I don't want, how I want to be and how I don't want to be. My son's mother needs to listen to you. I've tried to figure out where's this all coming from. She grew up in a Brady Bunch home, but she won't listen to nobody. Brady Bunch home does not mean perfection, and it doesn't mean she doesn't have a father wound. Doesn't mean something didn't happen to her in childhood. I want you to go back and listen to the prayer from yesterday, because there was something very revealing and telling that came forth about those who are alienating, about those who have narcissistic behavior and alienating behavior. It's on there. So I'm going to leave you guys tonight. I need to take care of my hubby. I know I'm cutting it short, but I want you to know that the hardships that you are facing have nothing to do with you, and they have everything to do with drawing you towards your purpose. I am Dr. Tori J. Evans-Barton. I am the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation, and I need you to know also tonight that you are the curse breaker. All right, I will talk to you guys later. I hope you got everything you needed out of this tonight. I know it's just after 10. I didn't get on until like 9:20, but I need to make sure he's okay, and I know I got to my point tonight. And I will look forward to seeing you guys next week. I don't know what I'm talking about in the month of February. I don't know if we're keeping this going. I'll let you know. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.